Hello. Well, my name is Vasily, and I come from Dallas, and I've come to bring you the good news of Adobe Illustrator variable data. And I think it's the coolest thing that there has ever been, but some people aren't aware of what you can do with it. And I'm here to show you something really basic and then really just deteriorate into a really advanced kind of portion to show some advanced variable styling tips for recoloring a document and also outputting different sizes of documents with different color modes, perhaps, from the same data sheet. So did anybody bring a computer where they have the Adobe Illustrator application over the... Okay, great. So are you able to get a hold of that zip file with the sample files? Oh, excellent. Okay. Now, if you would, please go ahead and open it up somewhere on your desktop. And just unzip it and create a folder with the files if you haven't already. And let's get right into the very first demo here. We're going to go to the A_basic badges folder first to get a sense of what variable data is used for. And let me open up the basic badge.ai file. So in this Illustrator template, let me collect these windows here. Okay, so what we have in the art structure is simply a rectangle which uses some appearance to give it this kind of look with a gradient on there. And then we have a single point text frame that's center justified. And it sits there with some effects of its own. So often is the case when somebody needs badges for some kind of convention or a meeting or a promotional event and they just want some badges for a company. So this is one of the uses with Illustrator because sometimes they like to have engraving effects or just the whole thing can be engraved, and engravers, they prefer the vector files with the outlines. So that's one really practical reason for the Adobe Illustrator variable data instead of something like InDesign, which is much better in some aspects to Illustrator. But we're going to explore some powers of this technique here, especially since you might have not seen this before. This is new in Illustrator. In the window variables panel, what we have now is an import button which says import a data source file in XML or CSV format. And that used to not be there, and 3 years before they put it in there, I made a script that does this kind of thing, and because of that, I was able to get a sense of what people are using this kind of thing for, and I did a lot of exploration work there, and saw people are using variable data all over the world, and having the ability to import a CSV file really got them where they needed to go. So it's a good thing Adobe put some of that feature in here. When you click on the import button, then you get a dialog which lets you put in a data file of your own to generate variables here. But to manually generate a variable, just make sure that your text frame is selected, and then open up that variables panel here and click the little Lego block button down here to make the variable 1 badge text to make the variable dynamics. So now you have attached this artwork right there to a text variable inside of the Adobe Illustrator variables feature. Now what they'd like you to do is to press the little camera button to capture a single data set. So when you do that, this becomes filled with data set 1, and you might not think this is anything special, but the magic is when you go ahead and type in any text, So I'll type in my name. You'll see that the asterisk appears over here. That means the data set has changed because you've changed something in the artboard. Now you can go up to update data set or to set it to the new value, but it'll ask you first. So now this is Vasily, and then if I type in Bob and I have an asterisk, but I choose to use the camera button again to capture a new data set, it's going to make a data set 2, and now you can just cycle back and forth to get your different variable data in there. But that's half the battle, because then you have to go to actions and you have to use automated batch over here in batch. Okay, and that lets you choose from some of the different actions where you can run them across a whole folder of files, or you can choose the source to be datasets, which is what we'll choose. And that lets you export whatever data you have in the document in different states according to whatever instruction you send in there. And that becomes pretty important because in all other variable data applications, it's not, well, in some ways it's a lot better, but Illustrator Actions let you do a bunch of things. Although Photoshop's are a little bit better, but we'll see how that works. So what we've done is we've taken this one text frame, and now it has two different routing to whichever data set we assign to it. So now we have to record an action kind of ways. I'm going to make a new set, and it's going to make a new action that says save a PDF. And I'm going to say save as is fine. And I'll just make a new folder called output and save a PDF document from there. Okay, and I'll make sure to edit the file name, and this is important because the way Illustrator saves things, it can have a little different effect on whether you change name or don't change the name. So sometimes it's good to see which effect you're going for. Okay, so save this, and I'll just keep all the options default. And when I go down here, it's included inside of recorded. So file name.pdf is the end. Okay, and just to show you what can happen otherwise is I'll record it again, or I'll start recording that action again rather, and file save as. And this time I'll just not change the name at all, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now you can see the difference is when you don't change the file name, notice how it doesn't show the .pdf file at the end. So when it comes to automated actions, you actually don't want that particular part. It just tells it to save the same file as is in the folder that was recorded. It doesn't really tell you that when you're recording this kind of stuff. So or just to let you know about here. Anyways, I'm going to do it the way I'd like it, which is I want that. Okay, so save it. And then change it. Okay, make sure that that is there. And now I can simply go, try not to make it so huge. Well, go to batch, and then choose the new actions. It's already set for me because I guess this is the last one I worked on. And for source, make sure to choose data sets. And for destination, it's going to be non-automatically. Everything else is disabled. And now you can choose where you want to save these guys at. So I'll choose a new test folder. How about test 9 for me? But you can make your own output folder. Sorry, I was going to go to this new one I made over in here. Okay, we'll choose that same folder. the OK button. Okay, so if you're seeing what happened, it changed the names and it quickly exported these PDFs. First of all, in there I have my dummy to delete those. And so we have .pdf. It has the artwork as it was when it's the first step, and then we have the second. So that's how variable data can work in Illustrator to out. To happen. So that is a good question. What they would is type in your own name here, and then type in for every single one. Of course, that's not really viable. You know, if you have hundreds of purposes to just make it. So that's why they gave us that way to import the variable library. So what I'm going to do is go to the flyout menu, go variable library button, and then you should be able to see in the basic badges, there's a basic badge data.csv file to import full data at all. And I have this file in syntax all the spaces, so there's no space at all when you go down this file. And at this moment, that's how they're imported though. I'll just say yes to override whatever I had before. And now I have a bunch of variables that say data set. It doesn't really quite solve an option to, well, what can you do? So I rebind my, or rather when I import it, I make sure that I am clicking on the variable in the variables panel, and I also have my artwork selected, and then I can make it dynamic, and then it binds my artwork to the variable that was imported. So now it's got all these different ones from the spreadsheet, but the reason I was taught free way to just made way better with the variable script, which you can also find over in the samples folder. And to use it, I'm going to maybe just able to double click this guy. Well, if you put it into your folder that's called Documents, Adobe Scripts, then it's a trusted folder and it's going to work from there. So I have a Documents folder, I have an Adobe Scripts folder, and I have a variable importer I can just drag into here. So I can just double click it. Okay, so when you use the variable importer, it produces this dialog which lets you do a bunch of extra things compared to the button they currently have. So I'm going to choose the data file and go to that same one, choose it with a script now, and now in the options button, now I am able to, okay, so this is the first tab, then you go to the options tab, and then assign data set names. Then you can go down to the variable one value, and then press test data set name list. So what it's doing is it's taken the value of the first variable, variable one, which is the only one, and now it's going to be your data set names. Just say OK. And here's another thing. So I named the artwork badge underscore text, and inside of the data, my variable name right there is, so when you're able to do that, the variable importer lets you automatically bind by name. also has these other options. Anyways, all you got to do is import it, and it's going to automatically do the step of clicking here and clicking there and binding the variables for you. So now, as after you use the script, now you can go through and they show the variable, which is what you want, because in some name, file is an option. Okay, so did anybody make it through? So what I'm going to do is load an action into the actions palette now. Let's folder, load up the badge AIA. In here, I have an action which I went to by recording an action and doing a save for web PNG20. At 200% size though. So if I wanted to go ahead and output a whole, I can do the action and choose this. Instead of override action set commands, I'll choose override action export commands. And also the file name is set to dataset name. Click OK. And then it's going to go through all of the 20 names that I put in there with a spreadsheet and put them all out for us. So we can see their files are getting birthed. Where are the files? Oh no, they went to another spot. Oh, how could that be? Of course, we got to wait for them for a while because there are 20 of them, and with this one, it's not an instant process. Each one, it gets its own special treatment here. So I know this one was the last name. So I had them go to a different spot. I simply checked this box off and this one on, and I didn't change my destination, which now should have went to either there or right here. Okay, so when I do that, then we should see the files getting birthed over here, and the files are named with the dataset name, but they have a hyphen in them because when you do a save for web from Illustrator, it automatically puts those hyphens instead of spaces in for you, conveniently like that. Okay, so these files are getting made, and this is the oh, what do you mean? Oh yeah, that's right. That's right, but you know, I just get yeah, very tunnel vision. So if I keep going, then the trick is not to think any abstract thoughts. Okay, so I believe they're all made, and now we can go through and see how cool it is to have Illustrator do live text with appearances and things like that, and you can only do it with a few elements because you have the appearance to. Okay, so you know, this is all good and all, but you know, I feel like we can do more advanced. Okay, so let's come to this file over here in the advanced badge section. Okay, so this is going to be a different something that hasn't been done a lot in Illustrator, but variable code like in InDesign. Well, the Illustrator variable push it to its limit to have a a spreadsheet that looks like this with a few different columns. One is for our badge text, which has the @ symbol. On the variable. Add into Excel, we have the formula. Put the add and then the variable. You can reference that you might, and it looks like pretty simple things after all, and it looks like it's a very simple template as well. Let me see in our layers. Well, kind of. So we have the badge text, and then we have two different objects that we can't see. They're off the artboard, but they're right over there, and they're these objects which actually placed files which are nested inside of groups which can a node. So here's one reasons we're going to be automating access with inserting that. And when you have a placed file inside of an Illustrator document and you press the embed button, the edit original button, that's the one I'm talking about. Scratch that in. Okay, when you click on that button, it opens was a photo. When you clicked it, it opened up that file right next door. And here's something I'd like you to notice. If you say select everything and copy it, which there's nothing in this file at the moment, but if you did, it wouldn't have any kind of asterisk appear. And that's really important. File without any dialog boxes. That's really important. So the goal will be to those two those two file boxes with the files over here. And these files are going to be the font options. So they are just files which have a certain, well, they have a certain character style in them. When I open this one up and I go to my character styles, there is one style. And actually, when I go back to my template, it also has one character style called badge style. And the reason this is like that is because when you copy a text frame from one document to another one and they have the name with the same style, well, you can already see it changed it a little bit. Now it made the text pink, but it's the same font. And actually, it is the same font, so that's kind of a bad example. Let's do the Helvetica one. Okay, so I'm going to paste, and then Helvetica AI also has a badge style, character style in there. I'm going to paste it in there. Now, it plus over there, and if I go to clear overrides, then we get our Helvetica font. So each one of these files named the same thing, and when you paste texts from one document to another and clear overrides, your new pasted text becomes that. So when you combine that with making it possible to open original file from a reference from a spreadsheet, you can actually, with copy and pasting, well, we can change something's font and then bring it back into a document or do something else with it. So that's exactly what this one will do. So over here we have the other folder with the layout options files, and these are just the different backgrounds for the different badges. So variable font style. So all these guys are there. All right, so now let me call in that variable importer script again to import this new data for this one. Choose it, the advanced badge data, and now I'm going to get 2 image variables and 1 text variable. I think I want to change the folder where they come from. So in this script, when you double click on the variable, you can get the options for it. And when it's you can choose the folder where you get the image file from there. So it kind of makes it easy to only have your spreadsheet and find all the files in there. And for the layout one, I'll go and choose the one with my layout options. So here we go. Now, it's got a bunch of tabs. It looks pretty busy, but the basics are just assign the dataset name you'd like. So I'll just keep it to those. And then when you do the test, you can see that the files were all located where they needed to be. And then when you refresh the one on the art bindings, you can tell that it is finding 1 text frame that's named the same variable, and it's also finding 2 based images that are named the same as the variable. Be confident that when you import the variables, the things are going to be changing how they should be. Okay, so going back to the variable window, I can go back between these data sets, and now I can zoom in here to see, actually both of these boxes are changing, but we can really visually see the image one change because the other file has nothing in it. Okay, and then, so this part might get a little crazy, but I hope not. But I'm going to go ahead and open the new action from that same folder with the advanced badges. I'm going to open the advanced badges AIA file. It's got quite a few more things, but I'll walk through them. So with actions, in order to select something and make Illustrator selected, you have to go to over Insert, Menu Item, not Insert Menu Item, you gotta Insert, Select Object, then it's going to ask you what the node of whatever it is you need to select. So in this case, I have the 1 text frame inside the document. It has the node called variable text. So if I go down here and go to the attributes, the node variable text is down here. That's how this is going to, if I control double click, set the selection to this thing. So just to show you that I didn't really touch it, just command double click, and that makes the action play just the 1 step. So the next thing it's going to do is do a simple copy like you're pressing Command C. Okay, then we're going to set the selection to what? To the font control. So the next thing it's going to do is select this object right there. I mean, this object right there. This is the font control node one, and it is a placed file wrapped in a group because when you switch variable data, it just erases the nodes from the placed file. So that's why it's nested inside a group. So in the layers, you have the 1 placed file, and then it's just grouped in 1 group. And that group has the nodes. It's impossible to tell which one when you click these meatball circles. But that's just how it works. So please refer back to this recording if you want to try this. It's well worth it though. So now back at the action. When you set that selection and this guy becomes selected, it's going to press the Edit Original button, which doesn't record when you're recording an action when you press that button. So you have to go to Insert Menu Item, and then you have to find Edit Original, and then you select it and insert it. So you get the Edit Original, which opens up that font file and it pastes the text frame in front. So they're the same size files. It's going to put it in the same location. Then it's going to go to this character styles flyout menu over here and do clear overrides so that when you pasted one text frame from one document to another one, it turns the font into whatever the host document now is. And then we're going to cut it and save it. And the reason we're going to save it is because you can't close a file in Illustrator Actions without it throwing up a dialog box. And if you have to click yes or no each time something runs, it's really bad automation. Because you want to leave it alone and go for coffee and come back and it's done or something. So when you save it, then you can close it with no fuss. And now when it's closed, the focus automatically is brought back to this document where we started from. So basically, open something up. We told the Illustrator from a spreadsheet to open that something up. And paste some artwork inside and do something with it. Then cut it and close that document. And then paste it back with a paste in front. And, well, actually, sorry. Then when it closes the previous document, it now sets the selection in this document to the other one over here, the one with the background, and it opens that up, and then whatever we cut from the last document with the font, it pastes it in front into this document, which also contains a spot color that makes the color of the text whatever the spot color's value is inside this other document. So, for example, the layout ones, if I go down to mountains, here's our mountain one. And in here, if I was to do a piece of badge text, the font color, it is kind of a navy color. It could be something else, matter of fact. But it's different from the one where we copied it from, where it's kind of gold. So when you paste it into so to run this one, I'm going to do a batch action of the advanced badges, process badge. This one is going to have a save as command, and the next is because I just wanted to get the raster files, so I'll keep it as export, and I'll say output 2, put it into a new folder, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so I should have minimized this thing a little bit. Can I move it? Okay, so it's taking the text frame each time and copying it into these two different documents. It's kind of like dipping sump bucket. And each time it cuts it back out, it's now changed somewhat. Now the thing about this, it's not really instant. It's not like if it's a script doing it, but it's something that a designer can configure by themselves to say, I want these things to have these certain fonts. And because it's using character styles, it could be font sizes or just any specific thing about a certain font. All right, so the files are getting output inside of this folder. And the problem is with Illustrator automation, once you start it, it really needs to be up front. So it's going to be jumping in front, eventually overtaking my screen. And then I go back to my other previews, but eventually it's going to do that again. Okay, so that might take a while. Um, so, do you guys have any questions about anything? Hmm. Well, yeah. So they make it easy in InDesign, and they have a lot of tutorials in InDesign, but they don't on this. And well, I have contributed my little effort with some articles here and there, but the problem is it really is a few different things all at once. One of them is it's got to go through the actions, and to try to record an action and mess with the different flight options to put on all the different steps. Plus, then you get to learn with chunks that some things cannot be recorded and some others can be. But by doing these things and writing some of these articles, I'm hoping to give some people ideas of what might be possible, because you never know when somebody might think, you know, I have a project that I wasn't going to take on, but now that I'm aware of these abilities, it actually is going to give me a really cool idea to use this one detail to do this really great thing. So, and over the time that I've spent working on it, I've seen some great individuals put it to use with all kind of different projects. One guy had like a fantasy football league he had with his office, and they had football sticker helmets. And well, I was like, I don't know how you're able to use my script. He's like, yeah, we did. We had variable visibility. Like some football helmets would have a crown and other ones wouldn't. And he's like, and with my spreadsheet, I could do it and have the whole team done and not have to spend like a crazy amount of time on an office fantasy football league. So I asked him for like, so I could do a write-up, but it's been so long and I've been just way so busy. I'm still hoping to do it one day. So now it's went through all 20 steps, and now you can see how long it took. So the power in Illustrator is not doing like a whole bunch of stuff fast, but it's doing things that you want to try out really custom over kind of a slow, methodical, premeditated amount of time. And this way you can explore maybe different projects before committing other kind of resources. So like if you wanted to maybe do some particular thing, but the way to have gotten there is to see. And I've talked to some guy that's doing that with t-shirts and stuff like that. He'll throw up a bunch of designs and use the variable importer to create different texts or different like birthdays. And now certain age categories are more popular than other ones for birthday designs for t-shirts. So we have went through basic and advanced badge making. So let's see what our results were over here. Okay, so notice it says 01. That's because when I did the export, when I recorded this action, do export, um, it doesn't show it, but I had I think the use artboard or something. I believe everything it made into to have an O1 at the end of it. Okay, so we have these different layouts. They have different fonts, they have different colors, and different, of course, text populated in them. Okay, so that's good, but I wonder how do we get all the way from there to, oh, I think we might get to it, come through it all pretty quick, as fast as I could. Okay, so let's see about this screenshot here. Is there something? Okay, let's just see here. Okay. So now I'll show you these pictures here. That's a bad resolution one. But I took this as a small rack capture them, and these are. Oh, of course, I have other files in there from that previous job. I got to uncheck the export buttons. Okay, so this is a result file set from the that I was for these different. So you can see this escape one. It's like hey, the bleed of, and then this file is a portrait. According to its name, it's got a branch bleed on there, and then we jump straight into now. It's RGB. So we have RGB files and we have CMYK files. So the question we get them. Also check out the changing inside of the LEDs. So we're taking where other software aren't able to do it quite as easy. Photoshop, let me show you something about this file. In this file, the text is actually different line text that's been threaded, but this middle one is the one that gets the color. That color changes according to the different data sets. So and I'll show you how, using all these different techniques that but it comes with a template that is this one over here, the one that has designs in one. Of course, the one that doesn't magically just make new designs out of everything. They have to be prearranged and preset in a certain way. Okay, now another thing is this template here, it only has one artboard because the way it works is we can use actions to move the artboard from one place to another place to isolate something on the main artboard. The way you do it is you'll select something with notes where you'd like the artboard to go, then you record in your action a object, artboards, fit to selected art or fit to artboard bounds. So selected artworks, I think, much better for some reason. So when you have this activated, you go to artboard and fit to selected art. Now the artboard jumps to there, and what's really cool is there's also another command inside of this select menu item which says select all on active artboard. So in this way, if you can select with notes some kind of object there, Illustrator, that's a pretty good question. The question is answered with the following technique right here. Okay, I'll show you how it's done. So inside of this folder that also is in the demo files, there are files called colorway files, and then flavor art files. Those are kind of different line art. And then there are production templates right over here. Oh, sorry, that wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, so you're able to reference these different, and the thing is with these production empty, if I click on if I open one up, you see these are files with a pre-made delete and everything. So that's how you can choose one document I want to just have put things. But here's the special thing it has in there. It has a clear rectangle that is at 0% opacity, but I'll turn that at 100%. And I'll show you that it's a simple shape in here. It's a rectangle, and it's filled in with a swatch. This swatch is called landscape. And then back in the main template, I might have the same thing over here. There is a shape over here that is in the artboard guides layer. And look at it, it's also, well, you can't see it because the background layer is here, but it's filled with the same named spot color. It's also called landscape in this document. So the magic is, and I keep them at 0 so you can't see them. And let me turn on the backgrounds again. So the thing is, if I was to use my Edit Original Automatable button after I'm selecting this placed file in the main template, it opens it up. Now I can select all, I can copy it, and actually let me just revert this file so that we're acting like we did it from the beginning. So I open it up, I select all, copy it. Notice there's no asterisk that appears at the top to say that you've changed it, so now I can simply close without doing anything, although I think in here we will. And then all I have to do is paste the shape anywhere, immediately delete it. Is because now my swatch, it could have been anything else before. Now that I pasted that art in, that swatch becomes my selected landscape swatch. So write this down. The next step would be to go select, same, and you go to fill color. Now your selection is where you want it to be because I already have pre-put in rectangles that are that same color. So I use that document for its color, for its like shape, to bring a color in and select the same color. So now I have the actual the thing here with the artboard with the rights, and I can go to object and artboard and fit to selected art. I think it's already there. And I can go to select and all on active artboard. Now we have this whole thing done. So actually a couple other things. Would you like me to elaborate on those or go through it right now? Okay. So sounds good to me. So let's just go through the action for right now. Don't run away. Okay, I have a process add template action over here. The one that's inside your sample files is kind of like it, but I just can help but add more stuff to it. So, by the way, in the master template, we have a couple of placed items, and over inside of the data for this all-important data, it kind of looks like this, where there is the store's name, the address, which are 3 lines. They're separated with return characters, and some more text variation, then some files. We have variable art 1 and 2, which refer to some line art, which are some fruits in here. So I'll show you the line art. So these are all files that contain one flavor color, one named spot color. So here, again, we have the spot colors being used to do something. All right, so we have our other records have different kind of line art there. And then the WAV file, they are simply one one shape color files, they don't all look quite right, but believe me, it's just the preview. It's lying to us because it's reading some old information. In fact, in all of those files, we have one spot color swatch. It's called for color. And here's really cool behavior with Illustrator, which we can hijack for our variable data use. Anyways, over inside of the features, we can see the spot colors inside the features folder in a sample files. We can take a global document, document file and open it up. It has two shapes in there. They have global colors, which are colors that have a triangle, black dot. Right. So what this means is their process, but you can change their names, and all the artwork that is associated with it will change accordingly. So that means if I was to have multiple ones of these, and I decided to change the color, when I press the preview, all of them turn purple. Okay, and now I'm going to open up one that's called rgb.global. So in here, it's kind of, well, I want to say it's the same colors, but they're RGB. They're a totally different process. So first thing I'll do is copy from RGB document to CMYK document global. And here's the behavior that you get. It asks you to merge or add swatches. When you merge them, then they just become whatever is pasted into. Okay, now if I wanted to add them, I'm going to say, okay, now it's going to add a new global color with another 2 on the end as an increment. So that's actually not what we want. It's good, but for automation, it's not going to work because with that dialog box popping up, nobody will want to do that. But there's a way to work around that. This is how this whole thing is founded upon. So if I have a CMYK document with some spot colors, so and I have the same colors, but now instead of process, they are spots. And if I wanted to put in an RGB spot color into it, so I could copy this one and paste it in here. Now watch that. It assumes the color of the host document without any warnings. And that's really important for automation. Okay, likewise, if you were to copy this one, it's still named color_2 into this spot document. Now watch it change completely with different color mode, different color values. It's really important too. Okay, and also with these colors being applied in different places, here's a good example. This is a gradient. So this gradient is made with the 2 spot colors at either end. When we paste it into the CMYK one, it just changes to whatever it was in here. So this way you can actually control things in a variable way, because if you can open up a document from your spreadsheet and then it has a spot color in there and you're pasting things into it, have a spot color on them, they're going to change their color completely to be like the host document. And also, here's another little doozy. These are spot colors, and watch me place this one. Watch me place this whole file in here. When I place this file in there, this is a very interesting thing. So they were RGB colors. You see the document is right there. It looks like that. Now, even when it's placed into another one, when the host document has some color plates in there, so whatever you're placing in is going to be automatically colorized. So that's something else to watch out for. Okay, so let's check out this template. So the 3 alternate layouts, a couple of places where to put files. One is going to be just containing a color chip in there. Well, this one file is going to be the layout file, that's going to be the file where it's going to be ultimately saved from. Document. Start with our or spend them as a export destination, which so that means over inside of our production templates here, that's what I call it, this CMYK file here. It's going to have a bleed of a certain size, and it's going to have certain dimensions. So when you open this one up, it's going to be able to give you a certain destination option. Otherwise, you'd have to do another step to print it to there, I think. So let's do this action. So first of all, it sets the selection to the colorway file. It opens it up, selects everything from there, and it copies it, and it closes it, and then it sets the selection to the layout file, and it opens up the layout file and pastes the color into it. So that means in the data, if in this first record I have the colorway file rgbcherry.ai, it's going to open up colorway file cherry. It's going to copy the only thing in there, which is this one shape that's colored with flavor color _1, except for in here it has CMYK values of this certain value that makes it that dark cherry color looking color. And then when it pastes it in, it's going to paste it into my document over here, my layout file. Now my layout file is also an RGB space, so when I paste that color in, it's not going to change at all. In fact, there's no flavor one color inside of the RGB banner file. So RGB banner is this one. In here, there's no colors, but here's what happens when you paste in the cherry one. Cherry, it's going to do this. It's going to copy everything, then it's going to paste it in there. As soon as it pastes it, flavor color 1 is now in the document. Now it's alive here. Now we can delete that. And now the action does this. This is the part that you'll have to re-record by going to this step and going to record again on your computer, because what it's doing is it's opening up this file, this very file I'm working on right now with the different layouts. It's made to open this up with the file path explicitly, because once we're inside of this file we're working on, to get back, to bring focus back to our original template, we have to use an open command. So you open it up, and what it did was when it opened up that layout file, it pasted in the color, deleted the shape, but then also did some extra. It also selected all to select that background rectangle, and now it has that, it says banner, the spot color over in here called banner. Now that's going to be letting us select, with a fit to selected art, the right layout that we want to choose. And then when we do that and select all in artboard, then we copy all. So let's simulate that. Select all in artboard, then copy all. Now that takes a while, because in here it's kind of a nightmare layout, and I really wanted to push it to the edge. Got a lot of raster effects and things. Okay, so the copy is done. So I go back to my banner file, when I paste in the art, it's going to take a little while. All right, so this is the example, but with art, line art, and things that you can do for SVGs. But at the wrong one. But you see what happened is the art all got colorized the moment I would put it into this template over here. Now, this is kind of wild over here, but the techniques I was trying to still get composite, got just the and you know what? I gotta go to over here to appearance of the entire thing and undo the rasterize and undo this and this and this to make it a little quicker to work with. But this here is an image, so what I decided to do is experiment with colorizing a raster with a spot color. So if I copy that, you see the original one was white. Now you put this one in, and it's showing up kind of weird, and the reason is because I doctored it all kind of way. 40% opacity, we got color burn, so normal, I mean, it would look kind of like that, but whatever. I just wanted to do it for seeing how these features work. You know, somebody who knows their color better might find a way better way right off the bat to make it look just the way they'd like. Okay, so in this case it was blended in such a way, but what's so cool about it, the thing is it's colored with a spot color. The way you can do it is if you do anything with black and white pixels. So I'm going to make a simple shape which I filled in with a black to white gradient, rasterize it. By the way, you can't just rasterize it, you got to go grayscale on that thing. So now you have a grayscale raster image. Now you can use a spot color to basically colorize it. So I was trying to mess with that. But did you know spot colors, they kind of leave you with some bitter, unexpected effects that we want to get rid of. Now, in the sample files which I have, I don't have the deleting the swatch action, but one thing that you need to remember is you can record an action into Illustrator where you can select the spot color by name with the apply swatch. The thing is, if it's not present in your document, then it's going to throw an error and it'll stop your action. But if it is in there, well, it's a good way to select your swatch to make sure it's selected if you already know it's in there, and it's not one of those ones repeating in from the spreadsheet. So if it's like, we're always going to do it, then we always can do it. So that's how you can make a new rectangle, fill it in with a spot color, delete the spot color using the delete swatch action to get rid of them. But the way they look is like this. If you go, if you see the output files from the one that's in the samples, then you'll see it. So in here I already have it rasterized, fixed it, but in here maybe not. Okay, so I have these rasterize effects, and actually you won't see the problem, I believe. But anyhow, if I was to take off the rasterize effect on the AI file that was generated by an earlier test of this thing, if you do the preview, you can see the problem that a spot color will cause for your image, because the rasterize effect that was on this object was keeping it process, and now it's actually thinking it's split into plates. So the crazy colorized grayscale traced yogurt there, now it's causing its own problems by blocking out some rasters that would be visible with overprint. So in here, this document back here. Let's see. So I have those that are fine, and I have this guy colorized with floor 1. So yeah, that seems all. But then if I was to go ahead and try to place that file in, so for example, just place it into itself for an example. Now you can see it looks kind of totally wacky. It doesn't look the same as it does right there, certainly. And the reason for that is because, yeah, that spot plate is doing some blocking there. So what you can do is, wherever you placed it, you can rasterize it with the rasterize effect. Just as soon as I do that to the placed file, yeah, it doesn't even seem to do anything. Okay, so I don't know why that didn't seem to do it right there. Let me place it into here. Okay, so if I do rasterize on this one, rasterize it. Nope. So that doesn't even fix it. But in the action that I have provided you with, what I've done was we've taken the yogurt composite object, select my note, and then it went ahead and rasterizes it to process. Hopefully worry about it. So in the actions that are inside of the sample files, oh, okay, sorry, I guess I got ahead of myself. I didn't include the rasterization in yours, but what I did was made sure that that object has the rasterize effect in it, so you should still see it okay in your previews, and it doesn't have this kind of object that still looks like it's a normal color one right there. So that's how it should look like. Well, that's one thing you can do with it, but another thing I noticed is with Illustrator, you can have JavaScripts put in there for SVG export. So we got print export with different colors that you can change how you'd like, and you can have RGB kind of exports also happening, but also you can do some interactive work in some ways by making it go to different places where there's different SVG files, or I mean JavaScript files in there. Sorry. So this isn't in the sample template at all, but I'll show you really quickly. I'm just going to open up that same file, and this time I'm going to use a different action for exporting them. So first I'll go to my data and see what I got in here. Okay, variables. Okay, so I need to import some new data here. I also have one for SVG export. So I have an action on my computer that does pretty much the same stuff the regular action does for this process, but it goes ahead and opens different production files, which I have. Okay, they are going to be over here. So I have an SVG1 and an SVG2 file. They're my banner size files, and they have nothing in them besides the other stuff we already seen. The rectangle that has the banner spot color for selecting which place in artboard you like, but inside of window SVG interactivity, now you can see this almost useless panel pretty much. When you click on the folder down here, it lets you see the JavaScript files that you put into here, so you can add and remove different ones, but you can't change them up and down. You can't reorder them, which is too bad because in JavaScript sometimes it's important which ones go. So what I did is I made sure that wherever I had those files, to make it easy to work when we're in our image, files into a folder called all images. My very easy. So these JavaScript files. One is the jQuery library for easy work, and other ones are pretty simple. Variable. My word, that'd be so cool. Anyway, one of these files according to a spreadsheet and output according to it. Okay. The other one, by the way, this one has a turn left JS in there. The other one has a turn right JavaScript file in it. So in here, if I go to SVG1, then there is a turn right JS in it. And well, those production templates folder with the other layout files, I also dragged them into my destination, wherever I was going to put them to. In this case, it was the state.svg. So these files are in here. Actually, I could never get 3max to work, so I don't think it's needed at all. So files too. In a real life work environment could be have some art, some JavaScript, and think of some. All right, so first of all, we need to get back to the main template over here and import the new data. So variable importer. I can also go to file scripts, and I have my own little scripts panel too. But right now it's invisible because my screen size changed. So let's choose the data file. This time I'll find one that's not in the samples at all. It's just the one that I have right now that I worked on to demonstrate. So this is svg testing.csv. By the way, we have the file paths, and the folder is inside of the all images folder. That's where I'm going to get all of the images from. So they have all automatically received the all images folder to all these variables. Okay, so now just do a quick test. Shows you all the files are found and all the art bindings are in there. Okay, I'm going to import the variables, and that's going to be just half of the work because then the next step is the actions. I just now put in some new data. There's only 2 data sets. And in this data, the very important thing is in one of the layout files, it's going to go to RGB banner SVG1 and SVG2, and everything else is just my data doing its thing, filling up those different text boxes and such. Okay, so let me run the SVG test. It's going to do what we're doing, except for it's not outputting an AI file or a PDF or exporting. It's actually only doing where's that save as? Save as right over here, save as SVG. And so I made sure to type in and change the name of the file. Can you, so that you can't see the zoomer. But yeah, that's the one saving command. So let's actually watch it in action. All those SVG files, I made sure to do the document raster effects at 72 to make sure it's faster for you guys. Okay, so let's go and batch these out. SVG process template, and I want to be careful about the but I'm choosing the hard. So I want to do override action save as commands and choose the folder that I want it to go to. I just want to choose a different folder here. Pre-made with those JavaScript files. So I'm going to say, you know, I don't want to say, okay, I want to shrink this down so we can actually see what's happening. Just try to work with a limited screen space. Okay. So I think this ought to do. So batch, what does it remember from last time? Okay, still have to re-choose my folders. Okay, test state SVG. And so hopefully it works. Okay, so first it's copying the color, then it's opening layout file, pasting a spot. Now copying the rectangle from the layout file, selecting with that rectangle fit in artboard, choosing the layout, paste the artboard from the layout, the drives, so it automatically gets colored. What we do is I transform each, like I select all these cherries because they all have notes too, and then it does a transform each to kind of automatically tweak them a little bit. So each one's a little bit different. They got the random button on the transform each command that was recorded into the action. Got a little tiny element of randomness, and it rotates it barely, but it could be a lot. And saves as EG. So now it might be some problem where, you know, it might be worth it to thing up and to see how 100 of them work, or if it's some kind of personalization where it's just important somebody puts in some effort and makes this group of people feel really welcome wherever they're at. Maybe they get a special interactive thing. Maybe it's like a crazy realtor company that gives an iPad to all their people with a thing. This could be the interactive deal that a designer puts on their device or something. So now what did we do with all this junk? We did a whole bunch of processing. We got these two files. Do the preview on them. They look okay. So let's drag them all into our Chrome browser. See how they work. Okay. So in here you can see it's starting to do some animation over here. One, we got the circle's background, it's green. Okay, and so because this is done through Google sharing through screen call, it's going to be extra choppy, so it looks, you know, a little bit better on my computer. But anyways, that one is turning one way. Now when I go to this other one, it's still keeping it the same, but now the deal is rotating another way. So this is an illustration of how you can go from this data and create some art that can go to different places that can have different JavaScripts. When it's in SVG, it makes it work in its own special way. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about anything? And I'm pretty much done with this stuff. It was going to be like... Okay, well, that's a script that I made, but it's available totally free at my GitHub Plus. You get it at the sample zip file. The one that they have built in, you know, it does some of the job, but one of the things they're going to probably do next is they're going to change it to where you can use at least a field name for the data set. That's the #1 complaint people have, because they want to be able to name their data set, not data set 1, data set 2. Now all I just gave them is the ability to import like 200 data sets, and they want to have meaning attached to them. But with a variable importer, you can do all these and other things, and I think it's a good thing they added the feature, because then it'll make people even more aware of the variable importer. So before it was kind of, you know, me and my script trying to advance this feature and trying to see if people can use it. And what happened was, once I started developing it, well, I got into contact with all these people across the world that are like, I'm using it for this, and the graphs aren't working right, and I'm using a lot of graphs, and I'm like, man, whoever was going to use graphs, but I guess this guy is, and it's really important. It's like this publication. So after collecting all this stuff and getting user requests and troubleshooting stuff, I've been really fascinated by these kind of Rube Goldberg-like workflows where you do this other thing and it lights something on fire and then the balloon pops and the water drops. So that's how it works. So the variable importer, it does help with the dataset names for now, but I'm still working on it. I haven't given up the quest for variable data powers. So in my next version of the variable importer, I'm going to have these new features coming up where you go to options and then you can now do custom increments where you can say you want to, because in using variable data can make like sets of things. So you want to make one through, we can do that and start the increment at 0. We can start it at 1 and it goes up by 10. And then you can add padding zeros however many you want. And then we can start at like 10 and increment by 10. So you can see if you switch between these and these, you can get 1 through 10, 11 through 20, and things like that. So you can export sets of 10 of whatever it is and kind of attach meaning to it. So that's coming up. I'm still working on it. Did that this morning. Okay, any other great questions?
So I know that Photoshop has conditional actions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing anything like that in Illustrator.
Oh no, and that's really too bad because that's where Photoshop's got it beat hands down. And
I wasn't trying to neg it. I was trying to try to miss it.
oh no, it's true. But I've actually done this dumb thing. Oh my gosh! I could try to tell you about it. It's on my LinkedIn, but basically, I was like, is there a way to conditionally do anything in Illustrator? And the way to do it, if you make it open, if you do everything, and then when even if you have nothing selected, it still works. It doesn't throw an error or something. So what I did was make this crazy workflow, and let me see if I can even find it. I got all these a bunch of articles. So if you have LinkedIn, please add me, and I got a whole bunch of nerdy stuff that'll keep you busy for hours just trying to decipher even what I'm blabbing about, all this junk. But way back, um, way back here, we're using actions to style overset text, and I said this is not recommended. It is not recommended for use, but what I got it is kind of doing a cascade thing where the selecting on it, and if it's not on it, then it applies a character style, nothing happens. So what happens is if you keep selecting these little rectangles at different spots where your text is, if you are still grabbing the text and applying that style, and your style is shrinking down smaller, then either at some point you're going to work your way down the bottom of the pyramid, or it's going to get smaller, then you can't select anything. So that's what it did, is like keep selecting, downsize, keep selecting, downsize, something like that. So basically no conditions, just try to insert a script in there if you wish to accomplish other things. And I have a bunch of stuff on dataset processing, the worms, with me.